Welcome, everybody. I'm Dave Marchick, the Dean of the Kogod School of Business. For those of you who I haven't met, thanks so much for being here. I have to say, hi Sylvia, I am so excited about today. Not just because we're honoring some incredible successes affiliated with American University, but also because we've had just this invigorating day already where we started the day with hearing from students who are building ventures and building companies inside the Veloric Center, including a lot of students who are not mathy, sciencey types, not programmers, but they're building apps and software using AI. We then had a roundtable where each of our honorees met with students, talked about careers, lives, ups and downs. We went to the Kogod School of Business, and each of the honorees saw their plaques on the walls. And then we got to see Amy Kothari's daughter, Allie, showed up and surprised her, and we all were kind of teary-eyed watching that. So it's just such a great day, and I'm just thrilled everybody's here. So the origin of this event actually started with my friend Gary Veloric. And he and Michael and their family gave a transformational gift several years ago to basically put our entrepreneurship program on the map and bring it to the next level, which Tommy White and Daniel Vogel have done with skill and grace. And one of the things he said when he gave that gift was, American University does not do a great job at honoring its successes. And there are just incredible alums who have gone on to great success, and we should honor them more and celebrate their success. And so we've created this Business Hall of Fame. It's called the Kogod Hall of Fame. Today, actually, it should be called the SPA Hall of Fame because most of the grads are actually not even Kogod, which is very consistent with what we're doing at the Veloric Center. Most of the people that are entrepreneurs in the Veloric Center are not business school students, thanks to Tommy and others. So we went to dinner last night with Gary and his friends. He told me that he did get an A. What was the name of the class you got an A in? Washington, D.C., a place to learn. So that was a very rigorous class that Gary, I don't think we have that, President Alger, I don't think we have that class anymore, but I think once Gary set the curve in the Washington, D.C., a place to learn, we just said we can't have any more students in that. So, all right, so we have 5 nominees. We're gonna have a video of each of them, thanks to Dan Lang, who is the ESPN commentator for our basketball teams and other teams. He's the voice, so thank you very much. We're gonna have 3 of the nominees, and then we're gonna eat, and then we're gonna talk some more, and then Daniel Vogel will close. Now we're here to celebrate excellence, and we have just incredible excellence in the rooms. We have current student body presidents over here, Jeffrey, and former student body presidents. We have current and former presidents of the universities. We have CEOs. We have athletes who have won the Patriot League, who have run a 4-minute mile. We have coaches who have been coaches of the year, Jason Borelli. And we have a lot of trustees. Now, the normal protocol is, at American, you read and recognize every trustee, every member of the President's Council, every dean. I'm not gonna do that because basically everybody in the room is a big shot. So in the spirit of entrepreneurship, I'm gonna try something which could be a total failure, particularly for a Jewish guy trying this. So if it fails, just bear with me, but, and when I name your name, just stand so people can see you, and then sit down, and if this kind of tanks, just pretend it didn't happen. Okay, so, 'twas the big day at Kogod, when all through Constitution Hall, not a founder was fading, not a dream was too small. Programs were placed on the polished chairs, in hopes that Hall of Fame honorees would soon be there. The students were settled, alumni close by, while mentors and makers let gratitude fly. And deans with their teams and our leaders in place, get ready for bold stories, a celebration of grace. When in the room there rose such a cheer, we turn to the front as the winners stand near. Maybe the winners, the honorees stand up. Oh, by the way, the Glazers sadly couldn't be here, but we have something cool for them. When families beaming, eagles far and near, stood 5 shining inductees, excellence, right here. Now Amy, now Margery, now Gary gets set, now Pittinsky, now Glazers, we will not forget. To the front of the room, to the top of the list, now lead it, now build it, now serve and persist. All right, this is where people stand when their name is. Amy Kothari said yes, learned fast, then led, from AU nights to new heights when bold purpose spread. Margery Kraus found her voice at AU, then grew. She made APCO global, 80 countries in view. Gary Veloric, a disruptor, says don't stop believing. From concerts to companies, he never stops achieving. Matthew Pittinsky changed how education can run. Blackboard transformed classrooms for everyone. The Glazers, Manchester United, and Championship Drive, 2 Super Bowls, Tom Brady, they make dreams come alive. Now dash with the doers, now dance with the dream, now mentor, now measure, now make business plans lean. Now this is fast going for people to stand up. On Wilkins, on Alger, on Burwell, on Kerwin. Come on, Sylvia. Lisa Rosenthal, Bob Kogod, he couldn't make it. Lisa, stand. Clear boldness within. On Borelli, on Medi, Niles Goins, and Jack Nowitz. Hard to rhyme with that one. With Jones and Diaz. Where's Jones and Diaz? We celebrate with glitz. On Tommy, Danielle, Fernando, and Duber too. Mark had to cancel. Please, Judge Lee, please bring justice back anew. Last year's winners made us all proud. Susan Zarinsky, Jeff Sein, excellence abound. Stuart Bernstein, Steve Shapiro, Strong Sanders, hey Steve, they set. Michael Rosenberg, Gary Cohn, no ceiling was met. So raise up a glass to this AU cascade, to the risks you take and the ventures you made. This bad poem has ended. Thanks for suffering through. Happy Hall of Fame Day, and go Eagles to you. Okay, and I'm proud to introduce the president of American University, John Alger. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Dave. And Dave, I have to ask you, given the work that you do, did you use AI in any way to help you? See? Okay. There we go. Well, we really appreciate your leadership, Dave, and being here today. What an incredible group of people that we have gathered here. Spring is coming one way or another, right? But these flowers certainly get us in the spirit and the mood. But I'm thrilled to have all of you here, and this really is an interdisciplinary event, as you've heard. So it makes sense that we would have the business dean reciting poetry. And we are certainly an interfaith campus, so that all fits together. I thought, well, when I get up here, should I do a song or an interpretive dance? And then I thought, well, if I try to bust a move, I might bust a hip. So maybe I'll just stick with the script. But it's great to have all of you here. So many honored guests, and it really is the kind of moment that we need to focus on and treasure here at the university. There are all kinds of challenges that we face in the world right now, but to take these precious moments to gather this kind of group together to celebrate excellence, but it's more than excellence, it's the impact that all of you have made on AU, our community, and on the world. We've got 3 board members of AU right now who are honorees, Margery Kraus, Amy Kothari, and Matt Pittinsky, who are providing leadership for the university at the highest level, even as they continue to do incredible things in the business world. And of course, you all know Gary Veloric and the great work that he's done, and you heard about his transformational gift. I do wonder about this class, Gary. I mean, I've heard things about in AU dorm rooms and things like that, so maybe we should have a class, something about being AU being a place to learn and grow. So there may be something there, but would love to hear later about the class and your secrets to success that you might share with the students. Maybe not. Okay, well, that's for after cocktail hour, perhaps. But and the Glazer family, we really appreciate, of course, all that they have done for our country and here at AU. And all of you have done something, by the way, that Pete Rose and Bill Belichick have not done in entering the Hall of Fame. So that's something, right? Now, Dave mentioned we have a lot of VIPs. I do just want to mention we have other governing board members here of the university because we actually, the next 2 days, have Board of Trustee meetings. So I know Judge Lee, Mehdi Haravi, and Jenny Axe are all here, as well as former trustee, I understand, Alvarado Valdez is here. Is that right? Would you give a wave if you're over there? Thank you for being here. I do want to thank the Veloric Center team. I think it's important to recognize that they work with students from all across the university, as Dave mentioned, that great ideas come from many different disciplines and entrepreneurs come from many different backgrounds, but they need the help that the Veloric Center provides to translate those business ideas into actual businesses. I know my wife enjoys working with a lot of those students as well, so we really appreciate the leadership of all of you. And Sylvia, thank you for being here. I know we'll hear from you in a few moments. They tell me all the time that one of the happiest titles is President Emeritus. Is that right, Sylvia? That being a former president these days is a good place to be, but we're really happy to have you here. And again, everybody in this room is a VIP. Today, though, is really about what I would call opening doors. That what all of you have done in our honorees is not just succeed in business and as entrepreneurs, but you've opened doors for other people too. We're going to be hearing about that today. Many of those people are here in this room, and many of those people are our students. By the way, students that are here, would you raise your hands and keep them up for a moment? Keep them up. All right, everybody else in the room, I want you to talk to these students. We want them all to be gainfully employed, okay? So whether it's internships or if they're graduating, thinking about jobs, these are the folks we want you to be talking to before the end of the day. So thank you to all of our students, and it's great to have you here. So think about the impact today as we celebrate these individuals. Yes, we celebrate them and their individual accomplishments, but we also celebrate what American University does, what Kogod does, what the Veloric Center for Entrepreneurship continues to do. This is really about the best of American University. And at a time when our nation feels so challenged in so many ways and so polarized, to come together and celebrate this kind of excellence is a really exciting undertaking. Thank you all so much for being here. Mazel tov from this Presbyterian, and congratulations to the 2026 Hall of Fame.
Where does a family legacy begin? For the Glazer family, it starts with a few core traits passed down for generations: discipline, grit, and heart. Upon stepping foot in America from Lithuania, the Glazer family worked. Work was a constant, and Malcolm Glazer grew up knowing that resilience creates opportunity. Malcolm's persistence built something significant: a legacy of pursuing opportunity and creating excellence. 6 Glazer children grew to have 3 shared standards: work hard, think bigger, give back. And as they carried forward Malcolm's real estate and sports roots, they also branched out into technology, the auto industry, and retail. 5 of the Glazer children spent formative years of their lives at American University, studying business, law, communications, and humanities, helping launch successful careers. The Glazer family built and strengthened 2 iconic franchises. In Tampa Bay, they took last to first and became 2-time Super Bowl champions. And across the Atlantic, Manchester United is one of the world's most recognized teams, with over 660 million fans worldwide, and the most powerful brand in global sports. Beyond business and sport, the Glazers gave back. From the Glazer Children's Museum to the Glazer Family Playground at the St. Petersburg Pier, they donated over 5 million meals during the COVID-19 pandemic, provided hurricane relief when Tampa Bay was hit hard, and through the Glazer Family Small Business Fund, they have supported hundreds of local businesses across the Tampa Bay and West Central Florida region. American University is proud to be part of the Glazer family's story, and our students have benefited from their wisdom and support. Hard work, taking risk, giving back. These Glazer qualities exemplify the spirit of the Kogod Business and Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame, and we are proud to honor them.
So sadly, the Glazers couldn't make it, but I just wanted to, we have a acceptance video from Ed Glazer. I just want to talk a little about their impact. Ed Glazer has, in particular, been deeply involved in what we're doing. We have a new sports program that he helped design. He's going to chair our advisory committee, which is going to be made up of owners and leaders of sports teams and media leaders. It's really incredible. I want to show you a couple pictures to show you the type of engagement that students are having here thanks to leaders like Ed Glazer. And for the people that are not students, just imagine how incredible this would be if you were one of these students. So Ed came to campus last spring, and he did a public interview that I did with him, which was great, a couple hundred, 250 people. Then we did this roundtable with 15 students where we hand-selected them from students that are interested in entertainment, in sports, in media, in all of the areas that the Glazer family's businesses cover. At the end of the session, Ed said, you know, the last time I spoke at a university, I offered every student my email. And I said, if you have any questions, email me and I'll follow up. And none of them did. So Professor Linda Blossbaum and I met with each of these students, and we helped them write an email to Ed Glazer. I'm interested in this, I'm interested in that. Ed responded to every single one, okay? Then, one day he sent me this spreadsheet, which my eyes are not good enough to see, but basically what it says is, I took the student names off. Each student's interest, what they're interested in. So on this list, you'll see some students were interested in being in finance in sports. So he connected them with the CFO of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Some of them, one of our soccer stars wanted to, he's now playing pro. He was a business student. He wanted to coach for a few years after playing pro and then go into business. So Ed connected him with one of the coaches for Manchester United. Someone was interested in marketing. And so Ed connected him with the chief marketing officer for Manchester United. Think about the opportunity, and a couple of these students actually didn't follow up. Good lesson as well, that they should follow up. So, but think about the opportunity that something like this creates for students, and think about the type of leader that Ed is, that he's willing to respond to 20 emails from individual students and then connect them to powerful, senior, successful people in his network. That's the type of impact that we want to create at American University, and that's the type of impact that the Glazer family is having. So congratulations, I'm sorry you weren't here, and here's a little video from Ed Glazer.
On behalf of my entire family, I want to thank American University for this incredible honor. And not too long ago, my grandfather came to America from Lithuania, and to be sitting here today accepting this award on behalf of my family is truly an honor. I have several siblings who graduated from American University. I was lucky enough to attend there my freshman year. On behalf of my brothers, Avi, Brian, Joel, my sister Darcy, who all attended and graduated from American University, this is truly a day that we're all very proud of. It seems like just yesterday, I was actually working at the Eagle's Nest on campus, and that was one of my first jobs I ever had. The time we spent, it was really a wonderful time as a family, and we remember very fondly. The values and the lessons we learned in American University are some of those that we continue to use in business today as we give back to our community in Tampa and around the U.S. These are things that started with us in our younger days on campus. So on behalf of everybody at the Glazer family, thank you for this incredible award. And we wish everybody at American University a lifetime of success in the future.
Margery Kraus has spent her life treating every day with purpose and possibility. As a teenager, she was especially close to her Uncle Sammy. He was like an older brother, and Sammy became her hero. When he passed away from cancer at age 21, she was only 14. In that moment, Margery made a quiet promise. If life could be that short, she would live every year as fully as she possibly could. The daughter of Polish immigrants, she grew up in a 3,000-resident New Jersey mining town. After attending tiny Knox College, she transferred to AU. The Washington semester program fostered Margery's confidence and helped Margery realize that the world was larger and more full of possibility than she could have imagined. She started her career as a teacher, then moved to the Close-Up Foundation, where she brought tens of thousands of American youth to experience Washington, D.C. The nation's capital is one of the great international cities, and it was here that Margery developed global ambitions. Her grit, determination, and entrepreneurial mindset helped grow APCO Consulting from a one-woman operation to a global powerhouse, operating in 80 countries. At the center of it all is family and legacy. 3 children, 9 grandchildren, and traditions that keep them close across miles and generations. Making the most of every day has meant building a global company and a joyful family on her own terms, which is why today we proudly honor Margery Kraus in the Kogod Business and Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame.
To introduce our next award recipient, please welcome to the stage Sylvia Burwell.
Well, Margery, I am so excited to have the opportunity to introduce the amazing Margery Kraus, who I've had the opportunity to know for over a quarter of a century at this point. And Dave, thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this, and congratulations to the other inductees who I am privileged to know as well. I couldn't be more pleased that Margery is being inducted this time, and she exemplifies this award. And whether it's the standards and excellence of Dean Marchick and this entire Kogod team in this university, or Bob and Arlene Kogod, whose life of excellence, purpose, and creativity can be seen from the name on the building to the arts on its walls. And she lives AU's mission and values. Margery leads a life of purpose and excellence that is infused with creativity. The video touches on her incredible professional success that is worldwide, innovative, and has impacted countries, companies, and all the issues of our time. All of this professional success, and she equals it with personal success as a mentor, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a wife, and as a friend. Margery is the full package, from strategy to execution. She creates ideas, approaches, books, grandchildren trips, and a company that was before its time to make those things a reality. Can you actually imagine in the 1980s convincing the law firm Arnold and Porter that they should do more than provide legal services, and that it was a good idea for a woman to create and start this company? Can you imagine in the 1980s starting your own strategy and communications firm as a woman? Can you imagine being a woman-owned and run company that is the trusted partner of leaders across the Middle East? Margery didn't just imagine, she made it a reality. Idea to superb execution extends to her personal life as well. Whether it is the legendary trips that all 9 of those grandchildren have received with she and Steve when they turned 10, from Antarctica to Paris via a volcano problem. Or, in terms of me, at my going away, Margery was the mastermind of a cherished photo memory book from my time at AU. I benefited from Margery's incredible work and impact since I was 16 years old. I'm not sure she knows this part. When I came to DC for a Close-Up Foundation session where Margery was a founding member of the team. Margery says she got the idea from the Washington semester program. The excellence, focus, and thoughtfulness in how she runs her business is also present in Margery as a wife, mother, grandmother, and friend. As a matter of fact, Margery took lessons from being a mother and applied it to her professional life. Her book, which some of you may have read, her book Roots and Wings, talks about the importance of giving children the roots of values, community, family, and confidence, but not being afraid to give them the wings to encourage them to fly. She takes those lessons into her work, and now you can understand why she is an award-winning mentor in her company and in life. The many accolades and awards are complemented by what you hear. I was at a corporate board meeting, and a university president and a Fortune 100 C-suite executive says to me, he was talking about this woman that he worked for, and he was telling me how it was one of the best and most transformative times in his career. And that was because of this person and the way that she ran her company. I wasn't surprised when he said the name Margery Kraus. Margery has always lived a life of purpose. She gets out of bed each morning as an optimist who believes in making the world a better place for those closest to her and for people who are a world away. She first met her husband and partner in her success, I understand, Steve, at a summer camp when they were teenagers. I've heard tale of a swim test that, of course, Margery aced. And then she proceeded to cheer, encourage, and help Steve. Is anyone surprised? Margery's engagement with AU started at a time when the university was having some challenges and where her skills and diplomatic approach to things could make a real difference. Most would have said, I don't have time, I have a business to build, I have a family to raise, but Margery ran into the fire. And she has been contributing to this university ever since. She did not hesitate to take on the leadership of the new WAMU advisory board. She spearheaded the efforts to raise a scholarship in my name when I left. And her personal generosity with Steve in the Margery Kraus Presidential Scholarship will have impact for generations to come. Margery is the friend who has folks over for dinner, who calls you to use her commander's tickets, and who personally helps and mentors everyone. I know about the wonderful grandchildren trip because Margery keeps her family at the center. In all of the concentric circles of Margery Kraus's life, she leads with purpose. Margery's the kind of person you want your children to study and learn from, because if they can do a portion of what Margery has done professionally, and if they can do it with the values, love, and sense of community that she has, they will be as successful as possible. Margery, I'm honored to call you a friend and to introduce you.
I think I should sit down. Sylvia left me very emotional, and she said it all. There's nothing else to say because, getting an award like this is very inspiring and rewarding, but getting it from somebody like Sylvia is especially amazing because of my deep respect for her, her incredible career, and anything she said about me, you could double and say about her. So Sylvia, thank you for that wonderful introduction and for the tremendous friendship that we've developed over the years. Sylvia didn't say this, but I first met, I don't remember the close-ups part of it because I was, there were a lot of students, and anyway, but we had the Gates Foundation as a client in Seattle, and they had this new person who was coming in as the chief operating officer, and her job was to tell me that she wasn't sure that we were going to be continued. And But we got through that, and we survived that. But anyway, so I've always just held this gratitude for her. Anyway, I have a couple of remarks. I'll try to make this fast, but I'm honored, obviously, to be an inductee into the Kogod School of Business Hall of Fame, and I want to express my gratitude and appreciation to President Alger for his comments, and Dean Marchick and American and Kogod and anyone else who made this possible. I'd also like to congratulate my fellow inductees, a couple of whom I know and have known, but to be in such an esteemed group is always humbling, and you know, this is part of what the AU community is about, these wonderful people. So I've been asked to share a few words about my professional journey. So somebody asked me to summarize 60 years of my life in 3 minutes. So hang on to your seats. I'll try to do the best I can. But I started in a most unlikely way as a first-generation American living in a small mining town in New Jersey. And yes, there were mining towns in New Jersey. People don't believe that. And my school, which you saw a picture of, it looked like a nice school. It was K through 12 in one building. And the elementary school was in the first floor, and the junior high in the basement, and the high school on top. And but one thing that you might not know, and maybe you'll change your mind about the award, but I never finished high school. So my first real diploma in life was right here at American. And before you take a gasp, relax, I eventually got a high school diploma, but not until after I got my master's here. I was given an honorary degree by my school before they closed and became a regional school. On my professional journey, I can say the path to this moment was hardly a straight line. When I first started my career, I was a civics teacher, and just across the river in Northern Virginia. And that's what led me to start the Close-Up Foundation, which has brought over 1 million high school students to Washington, including Sylvia, and set people on a career. And one reason that I did that is I thought civics can't be taught in a box, and you really had to have the experience, which is what I learned at AU and what I learned from the Washington Semester Program. And so we helped all these students find their voice and learn how to be engaged students. And helping students for the first 14 years, I'm still on the board, by the way. They have term limits, but I think I'm now 52 years into my term limit. Helping them on their journey for the first 14 years of my career remains one of the important things that I value in life, because it helped me build a network of trusted friends and advisors, and also appreciate the power of those relationships which help fuel my next steps. So from this beginning, I never imagined that one day I'd be standing here as the founder of this global enterprise with more than 1,200 people, representing more than 60 nationalities. But the story began with a simple idea that helping clients with their challenges and opportunities could also be a force for good, that you could do both. And not just for shareholders, but for communities, for our country, and for the world at large. And when do we need that more than we need it now? Founding APCO was my way of putting this belief into action. It started with a small consultancy, one person, but it grew into a global enterprise because of a passion for purpose, the ability to take on complex challenges, and taking chances. And I want the students to hear this, and a willingness to innovate. What led me to today was a combination of curiosity, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to making an impact. I also learned the truth of an Eleanor Roosevelt quote I came upon early in APCO's history. I was actually helping my son do his homework. And this quote really came to me when my confidence may not have been what it is today. And the quote was that no one can make you feel inferior without your own consent. So for a child of immigrants and from a town of 3,000 people without a high school diploma, now working with some of the world's smartest people, it was a revelation that stuck with me throughout my career. And it became a voice in the back of my head whenever I really doubted myself. But that doesn't mean it was easy. Along the way, there were unexpected challenges, and even some failures. But I chose to use those experiences, good or bad, as a lesson and a step forward. And through it all, I learned that success is rarely about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. It's about surrounding yourself with people who share your values and inspire you, and being willing to learn from your mistakes and adapt and grow. But most of all, it's about building trusted relationships that last a lifetime. So, if I find my place. So I wanted to building a business is especially one that spans countries and cultures, taught me that success rarely happens in a vacuum. It's the result of diverse perspectives, shared goals, and trust, all united by common culture. Another key lesson for me was to embrace change. The world is constantly evolving. I'm now 41 years into my business, and it's still vibrant. And staying relevant means being willing to adapt, to change yourself, and to take risks. I often tell people that the fear of failure is not the enemy. It's the fear of standing still. Growth requires stepping outside your comfort zone, and sometimes it means failing forward. It also means you have to pick moonshots and innovate for the company to move forward. But probably the best lesson I learned, especially as a woman who wasn't often taken seriously with my big, audacious ideas, was to never underestimate the power of being underestimated. Think about it. Never underestimate the power of being underestimated. So for the students in the room, I really want to leave you with something. My advice is very simple. Use every opportunity you have. You never know where it will lead. Treasure the relationships you make along the way. The people you meet and the mentors you find and the teams you build will be the foundation of your success. Invest in those connections and don't be afraid to lean on them for guidance. Next, I'd encourage you to lead with purpose. Define what drives you, your why, and let that guide your decisions. It's easy to chase titles, accolades, or profits, but true fulfillment comes from knowing you're making meaningful impact. And don't be afraid to dream big. When I started APCO, few people thought a woman could lead this consultancy or would ever lead it to the place where it is now. But I was fortunate to have teammates, some of whom are here, who believed in me, and a family who encouraged me to break through barriers. And I want to pass on that encouragement to you. The world needs leaders who are bold enough to imagine new possibilities and persistent enough to see them through. Now, also, before I finish, I want to say a word about family. And I know Sylvia went into that quite a bit. And I'm going to embarrass some people because it isn't enough to seek work-life balance. I don't even believe that exists. It's about seeking work-life integration and gaining perspective and encouragement from family that can fuel and enrich your success. So I'm going to ask my husband of 60 years, Steve, my daughter, Mara, who's representing our 3 children, and 2 of my 9 unbelievably fantastic grandchildren who bring me more joy than anybody can imagine. So Brennan and Ian. You can stand up, guys. No. Believe me, they're not modest, so it's not from that. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the pivotal role that American University has played in my journey. The values instilled by this incredible institution for service, leadership, and commitment to excellence have stayed with me throughout my career. What I learned here was to think critically, to embrace innovation, to approach challenges with a global perspective, or I always say global perspective. These lessons have been invaluable as I've navigated the complexities of building and leading an international organization. I'm forever grateful to be part of this extraordinary institution, and it's an honor to have AU as my first diploma in life, even before I got my high school diploma. So I want to thank you again for the tremendous honor, and to everyone in the AU family, thank you for giving me the foundation to build a career I'm proud of, and for reminding me that the best way to honor success is to play it forward. So thank you.
Gary Veloric comes from a long line of entrepreneurs dating back to the 1890s. Both of his grandfathers built their own businesses, as did his father Daniel. Their spirit shaped Gary, helping him take forward a family legacy of entrepreneurship and innovation. When Gary enrolled at American University, he earned a degree in finance, accounting, and rock and roll. As a student, Gary co-chaired AU's concert committee, bringing major artists like the Police, Jerry Garcia, and the Pretenders to campus, and discovering his passion for building big ideas. Since graduating from AU, Gary has shaped and supported more than 100 businesses. He co-founded J.G. Wentworth, helped launch the career of the Zac Brown Band, and led a technology company that won 2 Webby Awards. For more than 20 years, Gary has given back to AU through service on the Kogod Advisory Council, as a commencement speaker, and as the proud namesake of the Veloric Center for Entrepreneurship. Today, as Gary is inducted into the Kogod Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame, we honor a lifelong disruptor whose vision and verve provide a roadmap for generations of innovators at American University.
To introduce our next inductee, please welcome to the stage David Cohen.
Okay, everybody. Dean Marchick, an all-esteemed AU alum and guest. I'm most pleased and honored to have been asked by my best friend Gary to help inaugurate Gary into the Kogod Hall of Fame. I take great pleasure in sharing the stage with Gary and to witness firsthand what Gary and Michael Veloric and the Veloric family have provided to Kogod with the Veloric Center of Entrepreneurship. It is beyond my wildest dreams and frankly Gary's as well. For many years after our graduation in 1982, when we both started out and were visited by various AU presidents and Kogod deans requesting contributions for various naming rights, the first thing Gary and I would say is we'd gladly donate money to have a urinal naming in our at the new Kogod Business School building. And by the way, where Kogod currently resides was originally the holy grail of concert venues on campus when it was then known as the New Lecture Hall. So where business students are now currently attending classes, labs, and lectures, Gary and I produce such classic concerts as the David Bromberg Band, Pat Metheny Group, Kingfish, Sonny Rollins, and one of our favorites, because it might have sold about 25 tickets, Buddy Rich and the Buddy Rich Orchestra. Don't ask us why we booked that one, but we did. Needless to say, besides the Gary and Nancy Veloric Lounge at Kogod, there's now, of course, the Veloric Center. Wow, Gary, I'm very proud of you. The most significant thing that came out of my 4 years at AU was the lifelong friendships that I've made. The aforementioned Gary Veloric is certainly on top of that list. We were roommates for 4 years, both on and off campus, and while we were possibly not as successful as Gates and Allen or Jobs and Wozniak, we did discover quite a few things during our college careers outside of the classroom that certainly helped propel us into our fairly successful professional business careers. So the Gary Veloric story is certainly an interesting and quite elaborate in its twists, turns, and tribulations. The bottom line is basically what you've already figured out for yourself. Gary is a genius in his lane of business and intricate analytical thinking. Is he perfect? Nope, far from it. He'll be the first to tell you that. Can he run a business from an operations standpoint? Hell no. But can he provide amazing insight and detailed financial advice and forecasts? Absolutely. No one reads a balance sheet like Gary. To watch him write and diagnose these pieces of paper is like watching Mozart write his magnus opus or Picasso paint his masterpiece. Business people, probably much smarter than Gary in other ways, are always amazed when Gary spews out comments and positive suggestions after reading their balance sheets. I witnessed this firsthand from my early days with him at AU and our time at Sub Concerts. Gary was negotiating detailed contracts with booking agents and musician management directly at the age of 19. He masterminded many of these plans and ideas to help raise funds for AU by means of producing off-campus concerts that we were able to secure, most of which were usually turned down by the AU administration. So instead, we just decided to hold on-campus concerts and have a hell of a great time in doing so. We did manage to promote a few amazing concerts off-campus, including, as was said, Jerry Garcia Band, Pretenders, and the Police, but these were off-campus because we didn't have the venues large enough at AU to do the shows. This was well before the Bender Arena came into existence, or as we were originally led to believe, to be called the Khashoggi Center, but that's another story. While still in college, Gary was offered to produce concerts for one of the most significant promoters at the time, who was based in New York, Ron Delsner. Delsner was in competition with Celador Concerts here in DC, so he couldn't necessarily book the shows himself, so he hired Gary to promote the shows under the guise of RD Festivals. In doing so, Gary successfully promoted the B-52s and again the Pretenders. Gary certainly was heading in the right direction with the music business, which was and still is one of his great passions. Another interesting point about Gary's AU career is something that both Gary Cohn and Veloric mentioned last year at Kogod ceremonies. Gary's insightful business acumen is mostly self-made and manifested. Gary was not one prone to college classes in the general sense. Rarely did he attend a class or crack a book until midterms or finals. He then proceeded to ace the test and move on from there. Although, as Gary himself pointed out at his own Kogod commencement address, when he received his honorary doctorate in 2013, his parents did finally get a chance to watch him walk and receive a diploma, because back in '82, he actually didn't have enough credit to graduate on time. Those of us present, company included, that spent copious amount of time in classes and nights in Jack and Dorothy cramming for our exams were less than thrilled. Right after college graduation, one of the things I was most impressed with was that Gary elected to start off on his own in Mystic, Connecticut, with a partner and try his hand at the concert booking agency. He did well, but it was a tough road to hoe, and a very difficult decision he made was he was pressed to go back to Philly and begin his career at family business, geriatric, and medical centers, which he did after a year in Connecticut, but very begrudgingly. Gary certainly made the right decision to head back to Philly as he helped propel and guide this business into the next phase of their successful run for the next 2 decades. After leaving GeriMed, Gary co-founded J.G. Wentworth and invented the entire structured settlement platform while fighting many insurance and annuity companies along the way. Great success follows, as you all now know. It's my money and I want it now. 877 Cash Now are all infamous late-night commercials embedded in our collective memories. But do any of you know how the name J.G. Wentworth came into being? Well, of course, another Veloricism. J.G. stood for a Jew and a goy trying to sound waspy. Perfect. After Wentworth came Red Stripe Playing Group. Under this guise, Gary successfully brought labels to mostly in the country music genre. Zach Brown was an early artist that was on Gary's label that went on to do great things and win Grammys. Speaking of the Grammys, Gary and Nancy served on the board of Music Cares for many years, and all I can say is that my wife Lisa and I have had many wonderful memories of Grammy weekend with Gary and Nancy in LA due to their tremendous generosity. One of the many great things I can say about Gary and Nancy is their love of a good party and having a great time with family and friends. The rest, as they say, is history. There are countless other business ventures that Gary has been involved with to great success, including real estate projects around the country and providing venture capital to deserving upstarting candidates that Gary deemed of interest. Gary is certainly the poster child of a serial entrepreneur for sure, and his legacy will now remain in perpetuity here at his beloved AU. Gary, I love you, and I couldn't be more proud of you.
You guys might think that's David Cohen, but everybody knows him as Murray. So thank you to American University, the Kogod School of Business, the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, President Alger, and the other honorees. I want to congratulate them. But I want you to know the only reason I'm here is because it wasn't the first time I was fired. I was fired by Dean Marchick because I refused to be honored and be on the committee. So instead of listening to me, he decided to fire me. And the way I found out I was fired is when he told me I was going to be honored. I'm grateful to the professors who challenged me, the mentors who pushed me, and my family, because in entrepreneurship, the people closest to you take the risk with you. And to the students here today, I'm really speaking to you. When I was a kid, ABC's Wide World of Sports opened every Saturday with a line I can still hear in my head: the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, the human drama of athletic competition. Every time I hear that, I think, that's entrepreneurship. Business and sports share something people don't talk about enough: The wins feel electric, and the losses, especially the unexpected ones, can be crippling. If you're not careful, the agony of defeat doesn't just hurt, it can dampen your next victory before it even happens. I've experienced both many times. I've been writing a book about entrepreneurship from the viewpoint of a coach, because when the game gets chaotic, you don't need motivation, you need plays. I want to share a few of them with you. Play 1. Break problems into component parts. In 1991, I was asked to help save a nursing home in Philadelphia. It was in bankruptcy. Patients were already being moved out. A feasibility study said the business couldn't support its $2.5 million of debt. Everyone was waiting for a miracle. Instead, we questioned the assumptions and broke the problem down. Operations, staffing, cash flow timing, debt structure. One piece at a time. We eventually exited bankruptcy with more than $5.2 million in debt. Why? Because the issue wasn't too much debt. It was structure and timing. The solution wasn't magic, it was clarity. Most people don't fail because they're not smart. They fail because they're overwhelmed. When someone says, I have a problem, what they usually mean is I have a giant blob. Break the blob into parts, and solutions begin to appear. It's easier to deal with 100 raindrops than one flood. Play 2, find leverage. If you only earn what you personally produce, you've built yourself a ceiling. Leverage removes ceilings. Leverage can be people, systems, technology, capital, and partnerships. When I started my merchant banking firm, it was just my partner and me. We closed deals quickly and had cash in the bank. Instead of distributing it, we reinvested. We hired people, built systems, created an organization. For 3 years, I made less than I had at my prior job. That's the part nobody talks about. But leverage compounds. Leverage isn't about working less, it's about building something that works beyond just you. Play number 3. Take 24 hours before you hit send. This one sounds small, but it isn't. In business and in life, emotions run high. When you're angry or feel disrespected, your brain tells you to respond immediately. My rule is simple. Give yourself 24 hours between impulse and action. Write the email you want to send, the angry one, the clever one, the I'll show you one, and send it to yourself. The next day, reread it, and almost every time, you'll be grateful you didn't send it. One emotional moment can undo years of reputation. As American University prepares for the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs, my family and I are proud to support this mission through the involvement with the Veloric Center for Entrepreneurship. Since the center's launch in the fall of 2023, more than 2,000 students have participated in programs, panels, courses, and competitions. Our Student Startup Incubator has helped launch ventures generating millions in revenue and securing millions more in outside investment. These accomplishments have contributed to national recognition, including a number 7 ranking among universities with fewer than 10,000 students. Tommy and Danielle, you've done a great job. I'm very proud of you. Entrepreneurship is the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. You will experience both. Your job is not to avoid defeat. Your job is to learn from it and keep moving forward. Break the blob into parts. Build leverage. Pause before you react. Take the risk. Build something, learn from the losses, and celebrate the wins. Because in entrepreneurship, just like in sports, the only way to score is to get in the game. Thank you.
We will now take a break for your second courses to be served. Please enjoy your food, and the program will resume after lunch. turn your attention to the screens for our next video.
Amy Kothari has built her life and career with the ultimate entrepreneurial mindset. Say yes to opportunity, then figure it out. When Amy arrived at American University for her MBA, working full-time and taking classes at night, she promised herself she'd excel. She rose to the top of her class, mentored classmates, and proved she could do far more than she'd ever imagined. That spirit set the tone for a fearless career, leading in some of the toughest, most male-dominated industries. Amy jumped from cable finance to banking, then said yes to a CFO role before she really understood the difference between a debit and a credit in a financial statement. Like other entrepreneurs, she was a quick study, and she then turned to grow a 12-person security company into a business with hundreds of employees and more than $100 million in revenue. Amy is a serial entrepreneur, moving from strength to strength. Today, Amy runs a property restoration company, taking a personal passion and turning it into an impactful business, and serves on multiple boards. Her proudest yes, maybe the most personal. Her daughter said yes to being her company's chief of staff, leaving a career in private equity to learn how to run a business by her side. For Amy Kothari, there was never a perfect plan, only opportunities, an entrepreneurial mindset, and the courage to say yes over and over again. She now fosters that attitude in others and supports future leaders and entrepreneurs at American University and beyond. We are proud to welcome her to the Kogod Business and Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame.
Please welcome to the stage Casey Evans to introduce our next award recipient.
I'm glad you came back. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Casey Evans. I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs here at the Kogod School of Business, faculty member, and I'm an AU alum. And I am very honored to be here with you to introduce one of our amazing Hall of Fame inductees, Amy Kothari. And the video you just watched, it really did a great job, I think, of showing you about Amy's mindset, her amazing career, her success as an entrepreneur. And at the very end, it made a reference about mentorship and her really thinking about her impact on future generations and making an impact on future generations. And that piece of Amy is rich. And so I'm going to spend a little more time on that piece there, because if we're talking about her impact on future generations, specifically our Kogod students, I've been very fortunate enough to see that firsthand. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that. When I first met Amy, she told me about how she was in our capstone course. She was talking to a bunch of seniors. And this was, these seniors were just finished, came out of COVID. They spent most of their time at AU on Zoom, and so they were pretty anxious and worried about entering the job market, particularly not really knowing how to network. They just didn't even know where to start. They didn't know, they were just lacking confidence. And Amy was very gracious and, of course, gave her time, some good tips for them, and opened up her network for them. But, those folks really had an impact on her. And, her conversations with those students really stuck with her, and she knew they needed more support. And Amy pushed us to do better for them. And she really pushed us and also became a partner in really reimagining and figuring out how we could better support our students in that space. And so it meant, among other things, revamping our career development office and really upping our game there. And, Amy said we need to be more externally facing. We need to be externally oriented, build stronger relationships with employers, and advice is easy to give. Yeah, just go make a bunch of relationships with employers. She didn't just say good luck, figure it out. She rolled up her sleeves, she showed up, and she really helped us reimagine our career development function. And to the extent she even co-chaired a nationwide search that we did that brought us Cynthia O'Brien, which we're very happy about. And we've with Cynthia's leadership and Amy's help reimagining career, we have a career development center now that students can count on. And I've heard that time and time again. And, Amy didn't stop there. Amy and her husband, Bob, also established a fund to create substantive networking opportunities for our students. And this fund grew into what we call the Amy Kothari Dinner. And since the dinner started in February 24, we've had 5 of them. Over 500 Kogod students have been at this dinner, attended this dinner, and over 45 alums have been table hosts for these dinners, which has really created these wonderful experiences for a lot of students, and where students are creating relationships with alums. They are learning about that networking. They're learning about how to have a meal with folks. And when we ask students to reflect on their time at these dinners, they've said things like, I didn't know I even needed to learn this. I've been able to learn about professionalism and networking in a totally different way, a way I couldn't find anywhere else. And this has helped me build habits that are going to continue with me through my career. And they're just grateful. They're very thankful for these opportunities. And so, Amy, your belief in our students, your willingness to invest your time, your resources, and your talent has really just made us better, and we so appreciate it. You have really helped us change the way that we prepare our students. And our students now walk into their internships, their first-time jobs, their interviews just much more confident. And they are really confident because you chose to show up for them. And you showing up for them, help them better understand that networking isn't just for a bunch of extroverts, that really anyone can do it. And as long as you're comfortable in your own skin and you're confident, you can really go far. And because you chose to show up for them, I've seen in our students, particularly our women, say, I can do that. They are given an opportunity that maybe they don't have a lot of experience in, but they're confident and they're saying, I can take risks just like you did in your career. And you're a role model for them. You're a role model for me. And I am so happy to be here. And so happy to, on behalf of our students, our faculty, our Kogod community, to say thank you and welcome you to the Kogod School of Business Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Yours. All right. Which side do I go? My hair out there. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations. I know, it's like a real deal.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Casey. It's been such an honor to get to know Casey and to work with her and just see the inspirational work that she has done in ripping apart our curriculum. Yes, with some pressure from me to say, like, we need to change the way we do this. So first, just the deepest thanks to the Kogod School of Business, to American University, to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. I don't know who they were, but you got a little mixed up here, but I'm honored to be here. It's especially meaningful to be here as not only an alumni, but a member of the Kogod Advisory Board, a member of the Board of Trustees. It just feels very full circle, so I want to thank everyone for that. I also obviously want to thank Dean Marchick, President Alger, everyone, Kogod, all of the staff, and all the supporters. This is an amazing community here. And I'm so happy to be able to be a much more integral part of it than I am today. Kogod has definitely been a through line in my life and in my career. When I arrived here as an MBA student, I definitely didn't see or have a clear linear path from the classroom to this wall of Hall of Fame. Like, I didn't see that coming at all. What I did find here was something far more important, though. It was a place that really encouraged curiosity. It built my confidence. It gave me a real responsibility and pushed me to think like a builder. I've told people have said to me, how did you make the decision to go to graduate school? And I was working in DC, and a mentor of mine that I worked with encouraged me to go to graduate school. AU was the only school that offered class at night, so I could work and go to school. And I only came here for one reason, was to prove that what I did in undergraduate was not, don't look at me, Dad. Not good to have your father come. was an opportunity to prove to myself that I was smarter and more capable than I felt like I had come out of undergraduate. And that's what going to graduate school was for me. I came in here, and someone probably needs to look into this. I came in with the desire to graduate #1 and prove that I really can work hard and learn. I think I graduated like second or third, but maybe someone should look that up. I might be wrong. So it was an amazing opportunity. The combination of rigorous finance with Kent Baker, who we all recently lost and remember, and others, but even more importantly was a very human, relationship-centered culture here that shaped how I lead today. I was telling some students today that when I work with a lot of these companies and these businesses that I'm in, I'll talk about them in a second, are businesses that go all the way down to very blue-collar technicians, warehouse, managers, and I say to them all the time, they've heard me say it many times, that none of them work for me. I work for them. And I think as leaders, that is our job. Our job is to work for them and to make them better. So much of my career has been spent in businesses that don't always make the headlines. I've been in residential security, monitoring, armed guards. I'm now in restoration, property restoration for floods and fires. And these are industries that show up when people are having their worst days. So whether it's a break-in or a flood or a fire, these have been opportunities to see real people who have been affected by these things and to send out my teams that are real people to make a difference in their lives. And that's really been something that's kind of fueled me. I spent a number of years in banking, and it was great. I loved my banking career in New York City, but this is a whole different level of operations. At my alarm center at Intech Restoration, I've had the privilege of working with just amazing people at all levels of the corporate structure, all the way up to the investment bankers and the lenders and my private equity firms, but even more importantly are the really incredible, smart, hardworking people that run these businesses. Growing companies in these environments, whether it's through acquisitions, technology transformation, and a lot of blocking and tackling, has reinforced for me that success is as much about purpose and culture as it is about strategy and capital structure. And it really is about building a well-rounded culture of people who can work together and trust each other. If there's a common thread across the different chapters in my career, it's that nothing meaningful happens alone. I've been extraordinarily fortunate to work with talented, loyal teams, supportive capital partners, who have all leaned into the complexity and challenges. Together, we've built organizations that could grow, could pivot, restructure when needed, which was often, and still stay grounded in our values. This honor belongs to them just as much as it does to me. And again, I work for all of them, for the people in these companies, and that's just been such a joy. I'm also very conscious that the AU community has invested in me over the years. I got a call probably 15 years ago. Would I be interested in joining the Kogod advisory board? And I didn't even know there was one. I said, sure. And I said, but this is the first time I've heard from anyone at AU since I graduated. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to go do this, we need to change that and start. We're only as strong at this university as our alumni. And I really started on a mission at that time to do exactly that. So serving on the Kogod Advisory Council and now the Board of Trustees has given me a front row seat to the ambition and creativity of the students and faculty here. It has just absolutely blown my mind over the last couple of years. And then just today, sitting with those students at the Veloric Center that Gary has built for us, I mean, we have incredible leaders in our future. And it's why I care so deeply about giving back. So whether through my board work, the Kothari networking dinner, or supporting students and entrepreneurs and operators to help them build durable, value-driven businesses and careers, it's really been a gift back to me to be so involved in this business. And I think that to all the students and kind of younger alumni who may be in the room today, I want to say that your path probably will not be a straight line, and that's more than okay. My career has been nothing but saying yes to some opportunities. And the two examples I gave a couple of people today is that I had an opportunity to go from business school from here into the finance group with a cable company, Comcast. And it was actually through someone my father knew, who was a general counsel there. And he said, well, we're looking for an analyst. And so I joined Comcast. And I worked in corporate finance at Comcast and then at Cox Communications. And so I just thought, I was moving to New York City, my husband and I were. So I called my bankers and I said, hey, can you introduce me to Cablevision? And they said, that's the Dolan family. You don't want to work for them. They're terrible. And they owned Madison Square Garden at the time. And they said, you don't want to do that. You can't go work for Cablevision. And I said, well, then what am I going to do? I have a career in cable. And they said, no, come be a banker. And again, I said, okay. I don't know the first thing about being a banker. I took my Series 7, my Series 63. I came in with no banker training. I think a lot of the other analysts at the bank were definitely side-eyeing me. Who is she just coming in here? So it made me work even harder because that fear of failure was like, I got to prove myself now. And while I was there for, I think, over 6 years. It was one of my favorite jobs because you get exposed, kind of like you get to do at the Entrepreneurship Center, to so many different businesses and companies along the way. And I actually was pregnant with my twin daughters, one of which is my chief of staff today. And I'll never forget when I was told that I was being promoted to this next level in the bank, but yet I was 6 months pregnant with twins. And it just shows that, like, that hard work, like, I was able to keep moving forward. And then the other story I like to tell is that we then moved to Philadelphia, and I was going to take another job in banking. So now I'm going to continue on a banking path. And I got a phone call from someone who said, hey, while you were in banking, you developed an expertise in the home security industry. And I covered all recurring revenue businesses, so media, telecom, and the cable industry, but also home security. And they said, will you come to a board meeting? So I went to a board meeting, and they said, well, we really need a CFO. And they're saying, you were a banker, you must know how to be a CFO. And I said, no, I don't. And they said, well, we'd like you to take this job, just part-time, temporary, help us get back, on our feet from a financial perspective. And so I came home and I said to my husband, I'm turning down the job at the bank, and I'm going to start this job on Tuesday. And he said, what do you know about being a CFO? And I said, nothing. I don't know anything. And I said to them, I don't know the difference between a debit and a credit. I hired a very good accounting firm. So again, relying on people who can support you. I said to them, your job is to be my accounting firm, but also to teach me 101. I also kept my accounting book from AU in my desk. And when the CEO would go home at night, because he didn't want to hire me, when he'd go home at night, I'd pull out my accounting book and learn how to do cash flow statements and learn how to put financials together and figured out how to be a CFO. So again, just kind of saying yes. Well, that part-time temporary job, I was there for 19 years. I built the company from $4 million of revenue to $200 million of revenue. I was the 12th employee. Today we have about over 500 employees today. I still sit on the board of that company and did thousands of acquisitions. It was an acquisition-driven roll-up business in the residential home security business. Faced technology interruptions with DIY and other platforms that are out there. Simply Safe, Ring, all were people that disrupted our business and had a lot of other challenges. So some of my most important opportunities in my career definitely came disguised as problems. The market shifted, technology disrupted my business model, capital structures fell apart, the company went through distress. You just say yes to all those hard problems. Learn to be comfortable with ambiguity and invest early in your reputation, your integrity, and your relationships. Those are the assets that compound over time and give you the confidence and, frankly, the flexibility to have kind of the career and life that you want to have. Finally, I want to thank my dad, who inspired and supported my fierce independence, even if he didn't always agree with it, probably most of the time. My husband for always believing in me beyond my own beliefs. my 3 children who have supported me in more ways than imaginable, and particularly right now, my daughter Allie, who is my chief of staff, who left private equity to come and join me, and she said she wanted to do it because she wants to learn from me, which that's pretty amazing for a mom to hear. My sister-in-law, who's also my best friend, who gets me and all my thoughts, and all of my colleagues and friends, and I mean, how many people can have a sister-in-law who's actually their best friend? And many people who have cheered me on, challenged me, and stood by me through a lot of twists and turns. My husband has said that my career is like a Netflix series. And every day he'd say, so what happened today? But through that, I've learned so much. So thank you again to Kogod, to American University for this extraordinary honor. I was shocked when Dave called me. I said, really? And for the privilege of being part of this community, which has become my community. I'm excited for what we see next from this generation of leaders that Kogod's going to put out. It's going to be one of the best groups that have ever come out of here, and I look forward to supporting all of you from the sidelines and whenever possible to be right beside you. So thank you, everyone.
When Matthew Pittinsky arrived at American University from Long Island, New York, he hoped to become a high school teacher. At AU, Matthew's passion for education was shaped by mentors like Dean Fred Jacobs, who helped him see that his greatest impact would actually be outside, not inside the classroom. On campus, Matthew took advantage of every opportunity. He was elected student government president, only later to discover that his future wife, fellow Eagle Julie Cohen, had actually helped run the campaign against him. His unique combination of spirit, community, and ambition helped Matthew build relationships at AU that would steady and support him throughout his career. At age 24, he co-founded Blackboard with his AU roommate and fraternity big brother. Blackboard redefined learning management systems, helping universities move from physical course materials to a digital classroom. When it was acquired for more than $1.5 billion, Blackboard served more than 9,000 clients in 60 countries. Then, Matthew did it again, growing another edtech company, Parchment, to serve more than 13,000 colleges and school districts, producing an exit of $840 million. For Matthew, American University didn't just give him a college degree and future spouse, it fostered an entrepreneurial mindset and drive for change, earning him a spot in the Kogod Business and Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame.
To introduce our final inductee, please welcome Michael Chasen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Chasen. I was Matthew Pittinsky's roommate and best friend during much of college. I met Matt the way that many relationships in Washington, D.C. form, on the campaign trail. I was running for president of my freshman class. He was running for a position as part of the AU student government. Our relationship was one of convenience. He needed someone with a laser printer that could make posters for him. I had a laser printer. To be honest, it was a lot more impressive to say that back in 1990. They were very expensive back then. A partnership was formed, but like many of the elections of today, this one was fraught with fraud. Matt walked in on my opponent, who was in a clear lead, and his campaign manager, and they were using an illegal list of students that wasn't allowed. My opponent and his campaign manager approached Matt and told him to cover up their crime. He said it would be their word against mine and no one would know. No one would ever suspect there was fraud in this election. But Matt wouldn't stand for it. He came to me and he turned in the cheaters and I won the campaign. Years later, as senior, Matt decided to run for student body president at AU, the most important position in the Washington, D.C. American University political scene. I ran his campaign. It was a heated battle, but one that Matthew won. And the school was better off because of it. Matt worked closely with AU administration on choosing a new president of the school, as well as making other improvements to the education that AU delivered. Matt went on to get his master's in education from Harvard and then worked at KPMG Pete Morwick in the higher ed consulting group. I joined the organization a year later, and we got to work with Greg Baroni, our boss, close mentor and friend. And at that point, he was also more than just a mentor and friend, but someone that really helped sponsor the idea of entrepreneurship. We were there working with institutions, and we noticed that a big trend was taking place. that higher ed institutions around the country were wiring the dorm room and the classroom to the internet. And yet there was no software that made that useful for teaching and learning. Now, Matt and I didn't know about creating a startup, raising money, or going public, but Matt had a passion for education, for making a difference, and we both wanted to be entrepreneurs. Matt wrote a paper on the opportunity, an opportunity he called Blackboard, to design a product to help institutions put courses online. I'll be honest, I didn't read the whole paper. It was kind of long, but I was in either way. And then we left KPMG for our first startup, Blackboard. We started it in a brownstone in downtown DC. And what started with just a handful of our friends grew to over 3,000 employees, 20 offices around the world. The company eventually was doing over $650 million in revenue. We got to take it public and eventually sold it for right around $1.8 billion. Along that way, it was a great journey, incredible experiences. Matt met his wonderful wife, Julie, had 3 children. After that, he went on to join another company, Parchment, which he built and then sold to a company called Induction for almost $900 million. Matt joined the AU Board of Directors. He then came back to his political roots and joined the Scottsdale Board of Education in his home state of Arizona. He has a long story, but a single theme. Whether it was as student body president, chairman of Blackboard, CEO of Parchment, being part of the AU Board of Directors, or joining the Board of Education, Matt got involved. He made a difference, and he worked to improve education for others. And that is why we're all here today. Please join me in welcoming Matthew Pittinsky.
Thank you to Mike. That corruption story is true. So the actual quote was, Matt, if you just flush it down the toilet, no one will ever know, which apparently is something that continues to happen in American politics. I'll just let you think about that for a second. So first off, thank you to Americans' leadership, to Kogod's leadership, for everyone involved in this event. It's a great honor. Thank you to my fellow honorees. It's wonderful to kind of bask in your reflected glory, which I certainly do. As the last one, you now kind of see how amazing all of these honorees are. I came to American because I wanted to be a social studies teacher, and I thought my future students would benefit from having a teacher who actually interned on Capitol Hill or worked at the Department of Education, all the exciting things that Washington offers to an AU student. I met Mike, and he already told this, but I met my future business partner the way most freshmen meet their friends, because they have a laser printer. And we worked together in student government. Student government at American at that time, when I became student government president, was just an incredible opportunity because we were searching for a new president. We were also going through the accreditation. So the opportunity for me in accepting this recognition is to say thank you to all the people who have impacted my life at American. And that first one was Maury O'Connell, who was the vice provost of student life. And Maury convinced me that the opportunity to be part of a presidential search, to be part of an accreditation, was a chance. Yes, you want to be a teacher, but this is like a chance to understand how education works, its systems, and start to understand higher education. That led me to Professor Fred Jacobs, who had just stepped down as Dean of Faculty, I believe, my timing is right, and was joining the School of Education again. He taught me education policy, and again, started to excite my imagination to make an impact in education, not just in the classroom, but at a systems level. And Fred, I'm so deeply grateful. I literally would not be standing here if it wasn't for you. And I'll say that to other people, and it has the virtue of being true, but first and foremost with you. Fred introduced me to Art Levine at the Harvard Ed School, and that became my next mentor, and I had an opportunity to get my master's degree there. Along the way, Mike popped back up again with this idea to start a admissions technology company where you'd no longer have to like hand fill out admissions applications, but you could use a CD-ROM, type in fill in one application once, and then it would fill in all of the applications. So I think Mike kind of came up with the idea for the Common App, but like before the internet. It sort of moved along, but with love and respect, it never quite sort of hit launch velocity. And so the time came to get a job, and the person who hired me is here, Greg Baroni. And Greg, at the time, ran KPMG's higher education practice. Now, something I didn't mention at the beginning, my interest in education, my mom is a retired educator, and my dad was a university administrator, was also involved in our local school board. My mom would join him on trips to like trade shows, like the business officer trade show is called Nakubo. And like a lot of people, I guess, she would just collect all the swag. So she had this like bag, and she'd go booth to booth to booth. She'd put the pens in and the notepads and the binders, no shame. And so when I then went to school, I was literally taking notes in math class on a TIA CREF notepad using a KPMG pen. So I feel like I was deeply socialized to eventually get into the world of higher education. So now I'm working at the organization whose pens got me through middle school and high school. And Greg is that second person who I literally would not be standing here if it was not for you. Greg recognized that I was a bit of a precocious employee, I think. No one liked to manage me, but saw in there some energy and some creativity, learned about what Mike and I had created with the admissions company, recruited Mike, and now the dynamic duo, we're back working together at KPMG. That's where we got the idea for Blackboard. And Greg did probably the most generous thing a boss can do, which is actually let you leave, and let you leave feeling good about yourself and giving you all the tools you need to be successful, including the chairs that we used at KPMG, which Mike and I, in the middle of the night, secretly rolled out of the office to act as the, I don't know if I ever admitted this to you, I think the statute of limitations have passed, but if you've ever furnished an office as a startup, the desks aren't the expensive part, it's the chairs. They're also really hard to build. So we liberated the chairs from Greg. But Greg, you know, your generosity and your mentorship. You heard the story of Blackboard. As these things go, they're never the story of one person or two people. So I'm very grateful to have many of my friends and colleagues here who, not you, you're a student, the rest of the table, no, teasing, who kind of helped build Blackboard with me, and then Parchment we built in Arizona, so a little bit of a bigger trip. So it's a little bit of the story, and really the point of the story for students here is never doubt and never take for granted the kindness of strangers, the willingness of people to be your mentors, to open doors, build those relations. It's very similar, like what impacted me at American was not what happened necessarily in the classroom. It was all of those other experiences and really the people, you know, that I can kind of build a straight line through. Now, there is someone who I have not mentioned yet, the woman who ran the campaign against me for student government president. After the flush it down the toilet, you can't make this stuff up. And by the way, that person was the person who told me to flush it down the toilet. The only reason I ran for student government president was out of spite for the fact that he had, and then it changed my life, tried to do that ethically. But is my partner in life and my wife, Julie, you know, I, like many spouses, like on Valentine's Day or anniversary, I always say some version of like words, just like at least my command of the English language are not fully capable of articulating how much I love you. What I haven't said is how they are incomplete in articulating how much you have shaped me in all of the rest of life, right? I am a better manager. I'm a better business partner. I'm a more creative person. The amount of very specific advice that I literally take from you, and then you're like, I told you to do that. I said, yes, I really do listen. But in every way, not just in our, you know, as parents and in our marriage, but
in everything I've accomplished professionally, it really is standing on your shoulders and with you as my partners. So thank you. And thank you again to everyone here for helping celebrate. Take care.
For our closing remarks, please welcome to the stage Danielle Vogel.
What a day. That was unbelievable. Just a huge thank you for the inspiration that you provided to us today, to the honorees. Thank you to the guests and the community that supported them in their long walk to get to this day, right? And you're going to see something in a second. You're going to have an instinct, resist the instinct, because I think if I instigate singing, Gary will immediately have me removed from my position at the Veloric Center, but it was his birthday yesterday. So if we could just, on the count of 3, exuberantly exclaim, "Happy birthday, Gary," I think that would keep my job safe. Are we done with that? All right, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Gary. Thank you. And one more thank you to Gary for having the vision to bring this day to life. As entrepreneurs, it is so easy to become downtrodden and dissuaded by the agony of defeat, right? The path to entrepreneurial success is paved with failure, but to encourage us to take just one moment to celebrate the thrill of victory, I think is time really well spent. So thank you for that inspiration. And I hope this day was as special as you envisioned it, but I have to say, this day was not this special coincidentally. There was a large team of people working really hard over the course of months on every last detail. So a huge thank you to Sharon, to Emerson, to Taylor, to Ben, to Beth, to Zach, right? This whole team has really come together to create a special day that allows us to honor the folks that have succeeded so admirably. So thank you to the team that put this day together. And then finally, just one last word to our students. Guys, everyone that accepted a medal today started exactly where you are. They sat at the tables where you sit to learn. They touched the grass that you walk across on the quad, right? You now have the framework. You understand the assignment? Yeah? I'm looking at you, Adiola, Andrew, Lincoln, Matt, you're next, right? You can do this. We know how to get there. It's not going to be easy, right? We are going to have to step over all of those bricks of failure to get there, but not only do we deeply and thoroughly believe in you, we cannot wait to applaud you when it's your turn to take the medal. So best of luck moving forward. And again, thank you for a truly wonderful day. Congratulations.